Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
Philadelphia fans, we're cut from a different cloth. Born into a brotherhood and bonded to our team for life. We believe anything is possible because we've witnessed the impossible. While we may be from different neighborhoods, come Sunday, we are one, and we will be heard. Pond Lehocky, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Following the biggest offseason of moves and acquisitions by General Manager Howie Roseman, the expectations of this city have never been higher. Welcome to the 2022 Pond Lehocky Postgame Show on 6abc.com and across the JAKIB Sports YouTube channel, exclusively presented by Pond Lehocky Giordano. Live from the Gallery Bar, booking games inside Ocean Casino Resort. Let's get this post-game show underway. EAGLES, Eagles.
You are looking live at the Ocean Casino, the beautiful gallery right here at Ocean Casino. And I got to tell you, the Eagles win 24-8. And I'll give you like a couple of views right out of the chute here. The Eagles are so superior to the opponents they've played so far that it's downright scary. And today, 9 sacks for the Eagles. Listen, they put a clinic on the defensively in the first half. But I will say another thing. Carson Wentz stinks. And
how do you really feel?
It is amazing to me. My mind is blown on how this quarterback situation has turned around in the Eagles' favor when you go way back to think this guy was the franchise quarterback and the drafting of Jalen Hurts was foolish. It has now evolved to this situation where the Eagles a dominant team, at least early in the season. I'm Mike Missinelli. This is Derek Gunn, along with Seth Joyner. Devin Caney's going to join us a little bit later. Guys, I don't know what to say. They're better than everybody they played so far, and to me, the first test they get is in 2 weeks when they have to go to Arizona.
Wow. Well, Mike, you weren't with us for the pregame show, and I had talked about how atrocious Washington's offensive line was. And I said if the Eagles played anywhere close to what they played on Monday night, this game will be over by the third quarter, midway in the third quarter. This game was over before halftime. Washington's offensive line is abysmal. I mean, the Eagles didn't even have to blitz much for them to be effective today. I thought initially they would have to put a little bit more pressure on Carson Wentz with an odd man blitz. They didn't even have to go that route. And Brandon Graham had a Pro Bowl game today. It was that simple.
Hey, there's nothing you could say. I mean, we can't nitpick about this at all because the offense started off slow, and then Jalen Hurts obviously found his stride. And after those first 2 series, the defense was just on it all day long. There were times where they blitzed. They got pressure out of blitz. They got pressure out of 4-man. They got pressure out of 5-man. Each and every week, we talked about last week being a team win. When you look at this win, this is even that much more of a team win. And Mike, to your point, listen, I think the curtain may be falling on Carson Wentz. I really do. I think that, when you watch him try to operate in the pocket and try to operate an offense, it's just not there. Statistically, he doesn't look all that bad when you look at, his overall performance, 25 of 43 for 211 yards. But those yards came in junk time. And a lot of the yards in the last 2 games for him came in junk time. And I really believe after, 9 sacks and not being able to generate anything offensively, that Washington is his last stop. And I'm predicting by the time they get to week 6, week 7, that Tyler Heineke will be the starting quarterback, and the next time that the Eagles face this team, they'll be facing Tyler Heineke instead of Carson Wentz.
Week 6 or week 7, at this point it might be week 4 or 5.
Well, listen, they're paying them. They traded for him, and obviously they picked up the contract. If you're paying a guy $35 million, they're not going to pay him $35 million to sit over there, until things start to get dire for the coaching staff. So, yeah, they're going to ride this out a little longer. Listen, this football team needs to run the ball better in order for Carson to play better. He needs a running game. But at the other end of the spectrum, once things start to go downhill, now you got to start to consider, Ron Rivera's got to start considering his livelihood and his ability to remain head coach beyond this year.
Listen, I don't want to blur the lines on this game because the Eagles really were impressive. I mean, 9 sacks and Devontae Smith with 169 yards in receptions today. But, you can't help but be lured into this Carson Wentz thing, and you watch him play and you go, whatever he had way back when, he has completely lost it. And he's making the same mistakes over and over. Holds the ball too long. Doesn't protect the ball in the pocket. You got a strip sack. He seems to be a guy who's incapable of learning. And I agree with you, Seth. I don't think he's a starting quarterback. He had his moment in this league. He doesn't have the moment anymore. He's a backup quarterback at best in this league right now. And the Eagles took advantage of that. But again, I don't want to blur the lines. This is a game about the Eagles' dominance and how well they're playing, D-Gun.
Oh, there's no question about it. They came to play today. And they knew it was the first NFC East game of the season. They were coming off a short week. They knew what was at stake here. They had watched the films. They had seen the fact that in both of Washington's games, they had to play from behind. One game they were successful. The first game came back and won it. The second game against Detroit, they were not. The Eagles wanted to make sure that Carson and that Washington offense understood one thing. There is no way you're coming back. There's no way you will have any life in this game. They came after Carson all day. When you look at Carson Wentz, and I told you guys this up in the green room, the one thing that has always frustrated me about Carson Wentz is that he's 6'5". He's a big guy. He's an athletic guy. But this sidearm motion he throws with, I never understood that. Even when he throws over the middle, he's always throwing with the sidearm motion. And when you look at a number of his sails, even to the few times he had wide open receivers, what happened? His passes were sailed. You're playing right into a defense's hands. How many 3-and-outs did Washington have? There were times when he could have hit the underneath route and he missed a guy wide open. There were times he could hit the guy in the out route. He missed him wide open because he threw it too short in the dirt, or he threw it too wide, or he threw it over his head. I don't understand who coached this guy.
Well, listen, just like Mike, I don't want to diminish what this defense
Oh, no
did,
question.
Because, last week the question was Kirk Cousins this bad, or was the Eagles defense, this good? Can we ask the same question? Is Carson Wentz really that bad, or is this Eagles defense that good? I submit to you that they made Jared Goff look like an all-pro, quarterback in the second half of the first game. I think that defenses kind of affect what quarterbacks are going to be and how they look and all of those things. So I don't want to, like Mike, I don't want to take anything away from the defense. I don't want to give Carson Wentz the satisfaction of saying, oh, well, he's just that bad. No, defenses affect him. When they started getting after him, they started hitting him just like Kirk Cousins last week. It affected how he threw the ball. It affected the decisions that he made. It affected the turnovers, the sacks. All of those things get affected by what you do from a defensive perspective. So I'm going to say Carson is on the downslide, but I'm not going to take away from the defense and the fact that they forced a lot of that bad stuff that you saw today.
There's no question about it, but we also should throw into the equation just how bad Washington's offensive line was. I mean, the Eagles abused them. You look at the push they got, especially off the edges, to force Carson to step up in the pocket, and when he stepped up, he had nowhere to go.
Right.
I mean, we've seen bad offensive lines in the NFL. I would say this Washington line has to be one of the worst in the NFL right now.
Well, I think they're decimated by injuries,
yes,
but no one's feeling sorry for the fact that they're injured, because everybody has to deal with that. But listen, if you roll them out there on a pro team, it is what it is.
They had 6 sacks, 4 minutes left in the half. They had 6 sacks, 2 strip sacks, which is typical Carson Wentz. It's like amazing that he gives it up like that. But it's interesting because the way this game started, the Commanders came out in kind of a man defensive alignment, Seth, and Jalen Hurts started off slow. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, boom, he hits the long pass to Devontae Smith, which when you look at the replay, how Washington doesn't get a challenge flag in quicker than they did after the fact. Now, they hold on that. They get the 3, but then you get the typical Carson Wentz faux pas where Brandon Graham gets the strip sack, and they get a touchdown off that on a screen pass to Goddard, and they're off and running 10-0. The one thing they didn't do was they called a foolish play there on 4th and 1. They got a little too cute with the Pascal play, or it'll be 17-0 early, but then it gets to be 17-0 later, and it's not a game anymore. You see the dominance of this team over Washington.
Well, the dominance is there. I think that, when they came out offensively today, they weren't sure what they were going to get. They come out against Detroit in week 1, and they bring the house at them right out the gate. We're going to force the issue and put the pressure on this young quarterback. He uses his legs to get away. Last week, Minnesota was scared to death of letting him out of the pocket and letting him do what he did against the Lions, so they just sat back in zone, and the kids sat in the pocket and picked him apart. They come into this game, so they don't know what to expect. Is Washington going to come after them? Are they going to sit back in zone? Which, when you go back and you look at the previous 2 games, that's what they did. They played a lot of zone. But they came into this game, and they didn't necessarily blitz him. But what they did was they played a lot of man coverage, a lot more than what he saw. And it took the coaching staff and it took him a little while to kind of figure it out. I want to give you guys a crazy stat that I looked at and I came up with when I looked back, okay? Because my only minus when you think about this Philadelphia Eagles offense the last couple of weeks is in the second half. They've been pretty dormant, okay? Against the Lions, you look at the second quarter. Look at the score box. In the second quarter, they scored 24 points in the second quarter alone. 24 of the entire 38 points. Week 2 against the Vikings, they scored 17 of their 24 points in the second quarter. Today, they scored all of their points in the second quarter. Now, that tells me that they're making an adjustment in the second quarter, but the game is like so out of reach by the time they get in the second half. They're not even looking to make a further adjustment, and they're not scoring any points in the second half at all. So that's the only part of this offense that's worrisome.
All right, and not only you're worried about that, but social media is all over that.
Right.
The Eagle fans have to find something to worry about. So it's like, well, how come they're not scoring in the second half? And I can't really answer that other than that they understand, even as pro players, Seth, and you were obviously a pro player, and you shouldn't have this mindset, but they understand that team's got nothing for them. And so that mindset goes down to maybe the way you call the game defensively in the second half, the way you think as a player.
Right.
That team is not going to threaten you today, and you know it.
Well, maybe, but in order for you to stay sharp, in my opinion, as a coaching staff, you got to put your players in a much more aggressive posture. How many games did we see last week where teams thought they had the game won with a double-digit lead going into the second half and wound up losing that game, okay? At some point in time, the Eagles are going to find themselves in that situation. And the way you protect from that, because it's like it's hard to get off to a fast start and then pull your feet off the accelerator, and then all of a sudden think you're just going to step on it again and then just pick up. If you got a 60-second game, we're trained to play for a 60-second game. You practice to play for a 60-minute game, rather. Everything that you do is for a 60-minute game. Play for 60 minutes, and when you get to 55 and you got to pull off, then pull off.
You're not wrong, but we're sitting there watching the same game that these players are playing, and we're saying, can Carson Wentz possibly score enough points to beat this team today? I mean, seriously. And if we know that, the players also know that.
Yeah.
They had nothing for them. They weren't going to be able to forge anything offensively to outscore them.
But as a coach, as a coaching staff, the worst thing you can ever allow your team to do is to fall into this position of complacency just because you believe you have the game won. Don't do that.
Oh, I get it. We have not yet seen this team, D-Gun, really be challenged to the point where they have to have a different mindset.
Well, they were challenged in the first game, and that was just because of rust. But the last 2 games, absolutely not. And the one thing I really love about this Eagles offense is week to week, you don't know who the star is going to be. it's A.J. Brown one day, it was Devonta Smith today. Who knows who it could be next week? This offense is so diversified and has so many weapons. You give a defensive coordinator nightmares in trying to defend because you don't have to hone in on one or two players. They have a multitude of players, from the running backs to the tight ends to the trio of wide receivers they have. You have Quez Watkins, who can burn you at any given moment. A.J. Brown is a grown man. Plain and simple, A.J. Brown's a grown man. You can't defend him one-on-one. He kills you with the slant routes. Devonta Smith is one of the best already in just his second year, one of the best route runners in the game today. Look at the game he had today. Look at the ball he went up and got for the touchdown. That tells you exactly what you're dealing with when you're talking about dealing with this Eagles offense. I don't know how many defenses that they face on their schedule this year can come close to matching up with their offensive personnel.
And their best drive is the one they don't even score on. And that's when they were pinned down at the 6. And all of a sudden, 4 plays get him 77 yards. Bang, Sanders gets him out with a 13-yard run. A.J., with decent coverage, gets 38 on that play. And Devonta Smith, they get a first down at the 30. And in the flat, the pass goal gets them down to the 7. I mean, bang, 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 bang. Like nothing ever happened. They were pinned down, and then they weren't pinned down because they roll. They have this kind of confidence now offensively.
Well, the only thing that was a little bit worrisome today is they never really got the run game going. And you kind of felt, after the first 2 series, I had the inclination that they just weren't going to get it going. Those 2 tackles on the inside are just animals. And a lot of what they tried to do in the run game today wasn't necessarily outside off tackle so much as it was up the middle. I mean, you look at these numbers for the day, it really is just abysmal. They averaged 2.4 yards per carry today, 30 carries for 72 yards. And Miles Sanders, hey, listen, he's only going to get 15 to 16 carries a game anyway. He was right there at 15 for the game today, 46 yards for a 3.1 yard average. I think that the running game is a big part of what they do. Yeah. And Jalen Hurts, 9 carries today. I mean, listen, moving forward, they've got to be able to run the football.
Yeah, you're right. With a 24-0 lead, you would think in the second half they'd be able to run the ball and put the game away. They really didn't attack it like that.
They were so ineffective at running the ball today that in the second half, where they really needed to salt the clock away, they actually had to throw the ball to be able to do it.
Do you realize how demoralizing it is for an offense to be negative yards passing in a game in the first half? Negative yards passing in today's offensive-minded football game.
Yeah.
And you're negative yards in the passing department. If I'm the quarterback, I'm in there screaming at everybody. Of course, the quarterback in this particular case has no right to scream at anybody because he was just as bad as everybody else he was playing with. But that just goes to show you what the Eagles were capable of doing. Now, we went into this game talking about how Washington had a trio of very good pass catchers. Well, guess what? When you don't have time to find them, they're very ineffective. That was the case on Monday night. That was the case again today because of the way the Eagles' front four attacked that offensive line.
Listen, they have to continue to be pressure-minded. And when I say that, there's 2 different ways that you can do it, okay? You can either do it via the blitz to help when you want to go 4-man, or you can just start off on fire with great 4-man pressure and every once in a while sprinkle in a blitz. The thing I'm happy about is the fact that, guess what? At least we're getting it, okay? Now, I still want to see a little more creativity on how we actually go about doing it. What you're seeing now is that they'll stay big nickel. Kazir White will be the coverage guy, and they're bringing T.J. Edwards on the delayed blitz, okay? At some point in time, let's get out of that too-high safety, drop one of those safeties down, and bring Kazir White off the edge. So now we can – because teams are looking at film, okay? I always used to say, if you give me 4 game films, and this is the toughest part of the year, the first 4 games of the season. As we move forward, it's going to get more and more difficult for this offense because the more game film I got, the more I can hone in on who you really are, what your tendencies are, what you like to do, formationally, what you like to do, by down and distance and where you are on the field. I can lock into that kind of stuff. So what I'd like to see them do is begin to self-scout now. Don't wait till the bye week.
Right.
Self-scout now
right.
and look at what you're doing and come up with some creative alternative ways to kind of change up whatever it is you got to do to maintain the level where you are right now, both offensively and defensively. I don't know what the hell they're going to do with special teams.
Listen,
I knew he was going to bring that up.
We're looking for little things to say where they can improve. Today we were a little worried because Goddard goes out of the game. He's got a banged-up shin or whatever that is. I mean, and they didn't score in the second half. So you look at those two things as negatives coming out of here. But the drive before halftime, and we're looking at it, we're going, okay, they're comfortably ahead. you get points out of that drive. You get the field goal. They get the long pass to Devontae, and then it's fourth down. Like they're in a hurry-up situation, fourth down, and it looks like they're rushing to play. And what comes out of it is the great throw in the corner of the end zone of Devontae Smith for a touchdown. Like I said, normally teams will go, okay, let's take a breath here. Let's figure out what we want to do. Hey, hurry up. Get right to the line. They score.
On 4th and 1, though.
Yeah, so fourth and goal. And they make that kind of decision because they're a confident team. And we're both looking at it going, okay, this is where you kick a field goal. You go in 20-0. And that's not going. We're going to score a touchdown here, and they do. It's just amazing the way this team is responding offensively.
Well, that just goes to show you the utter confidence that Shane Steichen has in overall scheme. It comes down to a lot of times coordinators will second guess themselves in situations, but in this case, because of the diversity of the offense, because of the diversity in the personnel, because of the way they can attack you at any given moment, Shane Steichen and Nick Sirianni said, you know what, stop us if you can, and right now nobody can stop them.
No.
You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt until I see it again, because you got to realize the situation. There was 18 seconds left on the clock. You couldn't clock it, and that was not enough time for you to run the field goal team on the field. So did they just kind of stumble into having to go for it?
Maybe.
I mean,
but that's what I'm saying. If they had to stumble into that, they made it work. This is how charmed they are right now.
They made it work, but I want to stop for a second and consider all the possibilities, because when you went to throw that, when you ran that ball on 3rd down, you knew full well that you didn't have any more timeouts left.
Yeah.
So the only option that you had, if you didn't score, was to go for it on 4th down, because there was no way you was going to get.
Maybe they lucked into it.
Hey, listen, a broke clock is right twice a day, Mike.
I get it.
Every day.
That's my point. Like they're lucking into successful situations here, and everything is going so well that you go, when are they going to get tested? I don't know if Jacksonville comes in next week and tests them.
Right.
That game in Arizona is going to be a tough test for them. I think it's really the first time we may see the true identity of them.
Well, you got a defense that's going to have to not just defend against an Arizona offense. They got to defend against that little pinball wizard named Kyler Murray. And that's a completely different quarterback. You have Jalen Hurts, who's a scramble wizard as it is, but Kyler Murray, who I'm still not sold on as a legit NFL quarterback in the true sense of the word. We watched him last week win that game for Arizona because of his legs. That thoroughly frustrates a defense when you think you have him and he's gone. So they've got to devise 2 plans when they play Arizona down the road. Number one, to defend the Arizona Cardinals offensive personnel, but more importantly, how do we keep Kyler Murray in the pocket and not let him do the Kyler Murray type things that cause you to have fits?
Yeah, we'll talk about that obviously more later in the show. Lane Johnson's going to be coming up right from the Eagles locker room, and I'm anxious to hear what he has to say about the dominance of this offense. And I'm also going to unveil a statistic that involves Lane Johnson that you guys aren't going to believe. It's an unbelievable stat. We'll run it by Lane. You're listening to and watching the Pond Lehocky Postgame Show. We're live at Ocean Casino. You can see all the festivities behind us. You're watching us on 6abc.com and JAKIB Sports YouTube channel. We're back after this.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Android TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
The big story on Action.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Up and go Birds.
Welcome to Pond Lehocky. We've helped over 100,000 injured and disabled workers obtain benefits, as well as some of the biggest settlements in the state. If you've been injured at work, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, Birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Jeff D'Ambrosio, Destination Downingtown's 5-day used car super sale. Jeff puts an end to high prices now. 5 days of the best car, truck, and SUV deals ever. Over 1,000 vehicles, every make and model. Stop overpaying. See Jeff today and get a quality car, truck, or SUV now. The 5-day used car super sale. Experience how easy it is to deal at Jeff's. Nobody treats you better. Nobody gives you more. Jeff D'Ambrosio, Destination Downingtown. GoJeffAuto.com.
And welcome back to the Eagles Pond Lehocky Postgame Show. I'm Mike Missinelli with Derek Gunn and Seth Joyner. Eagles win 24-8, relatively easy win for them today. And I know our next guest doesn't think it's easy, but it was from an outsider viewpoint watching the game. Lane Johnson joins us from the locker room. Lane, how we feeling?
Feeling good, man. Anytime you can get a division win, that's a plus. Like any game, there's stuff that we like to do better, especially in the second half, but we'll take it.
Hey, Lane, do you guys just get bored after you put up a big lead like this, man? Because this is the second game. You guys jump out, you get 24 points early, and then you coast to the finish line, namely because of the way your defense steps up as well.
Yeah, defense really had an unbelievable performance today. I feel that, we got to learn to play a full game. That's 4 quarters, so not 2.5, not 3. So we have to do that and have to be a better football team.
Lane, I shudder to think, first of all, congratulations on the win. I shudder to think what would have happened if you guys could have got the run game going today with the way that Jalen was actually, throwing the ball. Today was you guys' lowest rush output, 72 yards on 30 attempts, 2.4 yards per attempt. What were they doing to you guys up front, that you couldn't get going today in the run game?
Obviously, we got to go back and look at the film. It's all going to boil down to execution, but the players that they have inside, Deron Payne's a great player, Jonathan Allen, and an active linebacking course. So But it really just goes down to execution, and it's really, whenever we're executing, we're gonna hit the big runs. We're gonna have more than that. So, we need to be much better.
Lane, kind of a slow start for Jalen, 1 for 5. But what kicked it into gear for you guys, where it really kind of it was easy to get the ball down the field?
Yeah, every game's different. Every series is different. So it just takes a while to develop. And I feel like it, took a little bit longer than maybe what it did against the Vikings. But you got to learn to overcome whatever adversity there is in the game, and that's that comes with the territory. So we just got to learn to play a complete game and learn when to put it away.
Hey, Lane, I have said that this, to me, is one of the best and most diversified offenses I've seen this Eagles team have in quite some time. Compare this offense with your weapons, the versatility, and I'm talking about from the offensive line to the wide receivers to the running backs. Compare this offense that you're playing with right now to some other offenses that you've played with since you've been here. Is this the best overall collection of talent that you've had around you since you've been with the Philadelphia Eagles?
Yeah, I mean, we just, we have playmakers really everywhere. And it goes, offense to defense. So we know we have obligations to practice hard and go out there and play a complete game. And so, we're going to learn from this and get better from this. But, yeah, as far as talent, I mean, we do have a lot of ability. But with that, man, there's a process to it. And so it's really just attacking every day. And, when you do that, it'll help you out on game day.
Lane, take us in the huddle and give us a glimpse of, Jalen Hurts up close. He doesn't share a lot. He keeps things real close to the vest. But today he starts out 0-5, and then he catches fire. I mean, what is he like in the huddle? What was he like in the huddle today, so to speak? To get off to such a slow start, but yet and still find his footing, 2 series later.
Yeah, there's probably about 5 seconds in the week, and that's after a win, that Jalen say, hey, enjoy this moment. He works, and he's just mature. He walks in the huddle with a swagger, and really just is always, pretty stoic in whatever situation there's that he faces. So, we're all progressing. We're off to a good start, and we got to keep it going.
Lane, you had the block for the quarterback that played for Washington back in the day, and listen, he was getting destroyed back there today. Not only that, but we saw the same kind of warts. He displayed those warts that kind of towards the end of his career where the town kind of soured on him. When you're watching that happen, as a guy who blocked for him, and I assume you had some kind of friendship with him, what are you feeling?
A win's a win. Before it's Carson, it's one of those things, you wish him the best. I mean, it's a ball game. Whatever happens, happens. But, that really doesn't change with anything off the field. As far as a friend, it doesn't change really anything. It's just a weird dynamic. We have to play each other. But, when you go back and look at the film, I feel like our D-line was very active, just consistent, and, creating a lot of pressure today. I don't know how many sacks it was, 8 or 9. It was, it's a lot.
Did you chat with him after the game at all?
Yeah, a little bit. Just said, hey, man, stay healthy and, hit me up. So we stay in touch. So,
hey, Lane, can you talk about Devonta Smith today? 8 catches, 169 yards at a touchdown. The touchdown catch he made was spectacular, but here he is barely less into 2 seasons. Can you talk about how much you've seen in terms of his maturity as a professional football player?
Yeah, man, he's just a dynamic athlete. And some of those catches, like that one in the end zone, it looked sick from my angle, and I was looking at a guy, rushing the passer, but it just looked like he just went up there and mauled somebody. But I think with how we are, we're just some competitors. AJ Brown has a certain tone for that room. So does Smitty. So does Zach. So does Quez. And so those guys constantly pushing each other. Just making us better.
Lane, last one from me, man. How close are you guys to, putting together the complete game, the complete package? We talked about, how explosive you guys can be. You scored 24 of your 38 points against the Lions in the second quarter, 17 of your 24 points against the Vikings in the second quarter. All 24 of your points today in the second quarter against the Commanders. What do you guys got to do, and how close are you to putting together a total team effort, for 4 quarters? And what do you think you have to do to actually get that done?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically, every teammate being on the same level and answering the bell when they have to. And, it's hard to do. That's why this game is the ultimate team sport. Our defense played a hell of a game today. And, I guess where it starts, man, is really in practice. I know it sounds mundane, but to the outside viewer, when you were a player that, whatever great team you're part, they took practice pretty serious. And, when you have guys like that take it that way and compete, you're only pushing yourself to be the best version of yourself.
Lane, we're gonna let you go after this, but this is the statistic I was telling these guys about. I'm not even sure you're aware of this. This man, Lane Johnson, has not, forget about a sack, this man has not allowed a quarterback hit since week 7 of last season.
Wow.
Were you aware of that, and did you give up a hit today at all?
I don't think I did today, but for me, it's just every snap is it's all about getting off the line of scrimmage and being in tune with your tackle. I have a great guard next to me in Isaac. I feel like what he's been able to overcome with the injury that he had. People saying that he may have difficulty just doing regular stuff, and he's out there playing a whole nother position and naturally being the dominant player. So him, and then having Jalen as the mobile quarterback changes things up. So I'm just lucky to have guys like that.
Well, listen, great win. You guys are rolling. We'll see what happens next week at home. Then you got Arizona on deck, 24-8, and you guys have to be feeling pretty good about yourself. Thanks for joining us, Lane. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank y'all. Appreciate you.
That's Lane Johnson live from the Eagles locker room. We're going to take a break, and Devin's Diamond Debate is coming up. Devin Caney wearing some new jewelry. So pay attention. We'll see what she has on this week as she leads our Diamond Debate, the topic that we'll be batting around. Coming up after this on the Eagles Pond Lehocky Postgame Show. Back after this.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pond Lehocky, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Celebrating the life of your loved one is what we do at Life Celebrations by Givenish. When the matriarch of the Dalloway family died suddenly at 82 years old, Life Celebrations by Givenish stepped in.
They will make this the easiest thing that I know it's not easy, but they will make this as easy as possible.
Life Celebrations by Givnish, customizing services as unique as the individual.
I just know that my dad, who is in charge of everything, was not in charge of anything at that point when my mom passed. And again, just another shout out to this place for making it easy.
Turning tragedy into a celebration of life, no matter how hard, is what we do at Life Celebrations by Givnish. Life Celebrations by Givnish, customizing services as unique as the individual.
The faces you know, the team you trust. The Delaware Valley's leading news program, Action News.
Go for the beers, go for the cheers, go for the hit and the hits, go for the scene, go for the screens, go for the gallery, go for the win, go to Ocean.
Welcome back to the Upon Lehocky Postgame Show. I'm Devin Caney, and guys, it is time for Devin's Diamond Debate presented by Mark's Jewelers. Mike, I know you were asking me in the break, where's the bling? It's on my ears today.
It's the earring shot today. As you can look closely at the earring she's rocking.
And it worked out because it's how many points the Commanders put up in the first half. Just two big zeros.
Oh, two big zeros. I see what you did there. So
Yeah.
that is all diamond you're wearing around your ears.
I believe so,
Okay.
yes.
Just wanted to make it clear. What is our debate for today?
So today's Diamond Debate is 3 games in, 3 wins into the season for the Eagles. Has Jalen Hurts done enough? Has he shown you enough to solidify himself as the franchise guy? Had a good game. He took a little bit to heat up today, 22 for 35, 340 yards. He did have that slow start, didn't put up any points in the second half. How are you guys feeling about it?
No, I said last week. I gave in. I gave in last week, yes. I'm totally in on Jalen Hurts right now, and that's not, I know they have not been tested yet by a really good team. But the way this offense, the confidence they're playing with, absolutely I'm in.
There's no question. I think he's answered all of the initial questions that you wanted a young quarterback to answer through 3 games so far. He's playing with a lot more poise. He plays with a lot better decision-making mechanism in his head in terms of making decisions quickly and accurately. He can kill you in so many different ways. It's not just his arm. It's with his legs as well. He makes a defensive coordinator have nightmares in terms of how do you defend this guy right now. So right now through 3 games, and I know everybody out there is throwing out the franchise word right now. Based on a 3-game performance, yes, as we sit here right now, Jalen Hurts is your franchise quarterback.
Back in 2020, after 4 games, Carson Wentz was struggling. And after that 4th game, in post-game, I said, guess what, guys? The Eagles have a quarterback problem. And everybody looked at me like I had a bone sticking out of my nose. I said, they have a quarterback problem because of how Carson Wentz is playing and what the issues are. I'm going to sit right here and tell you today, the Washington Commanders got a quarterback problem.
Yeah.
The Eagles, on the other hand, have a franchise quarterback in Jalen Hurts. Plain and simple.
And here's the beauty of this, Devin, because I mentioned it earlier in the show. The way this has evolved, they gave Carson Wentz a major contract, and they told everybody they drafted this guy because in case Carson got hurt, they would at least have a competent backup. Well, look how it's flipped. In a short amount of years, the guy that they thought was the franchise quarterback doesn't look like he can play anymore. And the guy they drafted didn't expect anything to happen with is now their franchise quarterback. It's just mind-blowing to me.
And you know what I love to see in this game? Like the comparison of the two. You really saw the difference in the mentality between Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts going into this game. You know, I think we all know as Philadelphians, as Eagles fans, that Carson Wentz is someone who gets rattled easily. You can get in his head easily, not just by getting the pressure on him, but also Jalen Hurts can get in his head because we know Carson Wentz was thinking about everything that went down. You know, and like, maybe you disagree with me. I think that it was in Carson Wentz's head heading into this game. I don't think it affected Jalen Hurts whatsoever. And that is a big reason why I've always loved Jalen Hurts, his mental strength. He never seems to get rattled, never affected by that. And I think today he proved that. He proved that he is the elite quarterback both mentally and physically and skill-wise and in every other category across the board.
Well, it helps that you're playing behind one of the top 3 offensive lines in the National Football League compared to your former franchise quarterback playing behind one of the worst offensive lines in the National Football League.
Okay, yeah.
But ever since 2017, Carson's game, for whatever reason, has deteriorated significantly to the point where he's got one foot out the door in terms of being considered a legitimate starting quarterback in the National Football League. It wasn't that long ago we were chastising this Eagles organization for taking a quarterback named Jalen Hurts in the second round when you still had a so-called franchise quarterback. But lo and behold, yeah, we didn't know at that time. Stop.
I wasn't.
I was.
We
didn't know at that time.
Wait a minute.
I can show you the
film. It seems to me that Carson Wentz is affected by everything, which means the Eagles never read the room when they drafted Jalen Hurts, not thinking he was going to be affected by that. He obviously was affected by that.
You can't worry about that.
Well, I understand that, but I'm just speaking of who Carson Wentz is as a quarterback. He is affected by everything, which means like later, now that he's later in his career, if he's still going to be affected by things, what kind of a quarterback is he? He's not a starting quarterback.
He's going to be a former quarterback.
I'm trying to tell you that the hardest thing for organizations who really don't understand the art of delving deeper into who and what a player really is that you can look at the metrics. You can go to the combine. You can look at the metrics. You can watch a guy have his pro day throwing against air. Okay. There's another side of being a professional athlete, the mental side, and how you look at the game, okay? They draft Carson, they give Carson carte blanche, he's the guy, he knows he's the guy. They even go too far in letting him know that he's the guy instead of holding him accountable for certain things. Gave him too much power, and then he got to this point where he felt, entitled because he was the number 2 overall pick. And that you're gonna extend me the year before you had to, and all of those things. When you're looking at a guy like Jalen Hurts, nothing was expected of him other than to come in and be a backup quarterback. He had to come in and work for every single thing, and Carson Wentz was a guy that felt entitled to have every single thing, and that entitlement has led him to where he is right now. And Jalen Hurts' work ethic and the fact that nobody expected him to do anything has led him to where he is right now.
But if the same thing happened to Jalen Hurts now as a starting quarterback for the Eagles, I truly don't believe he would be affected whatsoever. And that is what makes him elite. The fact that Carson Wentz was so hurt and kind of put out by the fact that they drafted Jalen Hurts tells you everything you need to know.
Devin, you know what the difference was for me? When Nick Sirianni was named the head coach and he said, we have no starters, everyone's competing for a starting job, and Carson Wentz said, hey, I want out.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, for me, I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, they just paid you $128 million. They want you to be the guy, okay? All you got to do is just show up. You're going to be the starter. And he wanted out because he did not want to compete.
You're right. So let's look at it.
That said, that was all I needed to see out of that guy to say, you know what? Moving.
You're absolutely right. Let's look at it sociologically, okay? He's a North Dakota guy who never did anything wrong. He stood out as the best. Jalen Hurts, on the other hand, was tempered by the fact that he played at major high-level programs, failed at one, went to another, and succeeded. There are 2 different heartbeats in there. So when I look at Carson Wentz, I said, this is a guy that he, in a way, is like Ben Simmons. He has no self-awareness because he's making the same mistakes over and over again. How many times did we say he holds the ball too long? How many times did we say he doesn't protect the ball in the pocket when he's trying to wriggle out of there and he's going to turn it over? He is not aware of his flaws. So what kind of a franchise quarterback and a leader can he be?
Well, I think he could be aware of his faults, but maybe just not listening. That was part of the problem when he was here in Philadelphia. He stopped listening to instruction. He thought he was bigger than the moment. How many times did we hear the rumors out there that he was changing plays at the line of scrimmage and it was driving the coaching staff nuts? When you think you're bigger than the program, that's all of a sudden when things start to unravel for you. And look at where his career is right now.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz is an afterthought. There was a time not that long ago when Carson Wentz was considered one of the up-and-coming elite quarterbacks in the National Football League. Now, we're not too far from saying Carson Wentz is going to be a journeyman in the National Football League.
I blame the Eagles organization for allowing that to happen. The player never gets there on his own. You don't come in here as a rookie, and take over from a power perspective. The Eagles allowed that to happen. And when they allowed that to happen, it just got progressively worse and worse and worse. And the other thing is, see, to me, football should always be about meritocracy. And at the end of the day, it really isn't. And what it really is all about, if you're the first round draft pick, okay, you're going to get 3 to 5 years to screw it up. If you're a 5th, 6th, 7th round draft pick, you better hurry up and make hay, because guess what? They're looking for the other guy. From my perspective, do you know how many times they drafted the guy that was supposed to come in and take my spot? I'm like, I have no problem with that. Bring him in. Not only am I going to train him and teach him the defense and the playbook, I'm going to mentor him and teach him everything that I know. And guess what? His ass is still sitting behind me, okay? Right. He's still going to be my backup. Now, that's the position that Carson Wentz should have took when they drafted Jalen Hurts. And I guarantee you, if they draft another quarterback, and they're probably in a position within the next year or two where they're probably going to draft another young quarterback, okay, in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. How is just going to do that? Okay, then you have to ask yourself, is Jalen going to be moved emotionally by that? Hell no, because he's completely, he's wired.
If anything, he will be motivated because Jalen Hurts has had to do it time and time again. He will outwork whoever else is in the room with him.
I would also go so far as to say you never know what Jalen Hurts is thinking anyway. I don't think you want to sit across a poker table from Jalen Hurts.
Here's what I was thinking.
You would know what he's thinking, and that's what his emotions are.
Here's what I was thinking about Carson Wentz. He was horrendous. Now, earlier, what word did I use in the start of the show? Carson Wentz what? He stinks.
He stinks.
All right, that's a Sports Talk Radio leftover. I apologize. I'll soften it. He was horrendous, and the Eagles win 24-8, and that was our diamond debate for today. Right?
Oh man!
Let's take a break. We'll come back and re-rack everything that we have been talking about today on the Lehocky Eagles postgame show. That's Devin Caney. I'm Mike Missinelli.
Look at those earrings, Mike.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Going off the bling one last time.
Derek Gunn's here. Seth Joyner can't keep his eyes up.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
Philadelphia fans, we're cut from a different cloth. Born into a brotherhood and bonded to our team for life. We believe anything is possible because we've witnessed the impossible. While we may be from different neighborhoods, come Sunday, we are one, and we will be heard. Lehocky, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, Go with trust.
Go Birds!
And go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia Dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
Score and save this football season on your car insurance. Before the next game, save up to 40% on your auto insurance policy. That's right, 40% savings. Call an audible this season and contact the Del Val Insurance Group. They're an advocate for you, not an insurance company. That means they'll get you the right coverage and save you up to 40%. Call managing partners Fran or Jim of Del Val Insurance, 215-354-0122, or score and save at dvigi.com. dvigi.com.
Jeff D'Ambrosio, Destination Downingtown's 5-day used car super sale. Jeff puts an end to high prices now. 5 days of the best car, truck, and SUV deals ever. Over 1,000 vehicles, every make and model. Stop overpaying. See Jeff today and get a quality car, truck, or SUV now. The 5-day used car super sale. Experience how easy it is to deal at Jeff's. Nobody treats you better. Nobody gives you more. Jeff D'Ambrosio, Destination Downingtown. GoJeffAuto.com.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services. The first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Welcome to Pond Lehocky. We've helped over 100,000 injured and disabled workers obtain benefits, as well as some of the biggest settlements in the state. If you've been injured at work, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Go for the beers, go for the cheers, go for the hit and the hits, go for the scene, go for the screens, go for the gallery, go for the win, go to Ocean.
Over the last 17 years, we've built a reputation of growing award-winning teams across the country. Staffing is not easy, but that's what we do every day, all day. The key to our success is storytelling, asking the right questions to find the right people. Hi, I'm Gary Kane, President of Kane Partners. We want to be your staffing partner.
Welcome back to the Pond Lehocky Postgame Show. I'm Devin Caney. Guys, it is time for our Jeff D'Ambrosio Auto Group Drive of the Game. Go JeffAuto.com. This game, in my opinion, is a little bit trickier to pick a best drive from, where, you know, that Monday night game, the first drive was obviously almost flawless. There were several to pick from. I'm kind of stumped on this one. Mike, how are you feeling?
Well, I originally thought that I would go with the drive that did not come up with the touchdown, because it's so impressive the way they got out of that hole with 4 straight plays that got them way down the field, 77 yards. But I can't do it. They didn't score. So I'm going to go with the drive right before halftime, where they go 88 yards, I believe, and get the end zone rapid quick. They converted 1 3rd down on that thing. That was and then they got the big pass to Devontae Smith, a 44-yard pass to get way down there. And then that was the rushed 4th down and 2, where they get Devontae in the corner of the end zone. That's got to be my drive of the game. Puts them up 24-0.
Did you steal my notes?
Is that you?
I'm
sorry. She went to me first. I knew I was going to take yours.
You know what? From now on, I'm going to start doing like this, man.
Well, Mike, I went to you first because I'm pretty sure I stole yours last week, so I felt I had to give you the first choice there.
You guys act like there's a drive that's going to like be any different. Come on now. I mean, they scored all their points in the second quarter. Obviously, you know that last drive right before halftime was just magical. Devontae Smith was just doing what he does, man. And I mean, you had to be excited about, listen, some of those balls that Jalen Hurts, everyone talks about the balls that Jalen can't throw, the accuracy that he doesn't have, the arm strength that he doesn't have. I mean, listen, that ball that he threw, I'm like, the one that he caught right on the 1 yard line that Devontae Smith caught, I'm like, who the hell is he throwing the ball to? And all of a sudden, you see Devontae Smith just elevate and go up and get that ball. I mean, that whole drive was just like, if you're an Eagles fan, that drive had you salivating.
Well, you know, it was a long, sustained drive, and it made it the drive of the game to me just because of the way Devontae went up and got that touchdown to finish off that drive.
Right.
We're thinking taking the short points. We're talking about taking 3 points instead. Not this Eagles offense. Oh, no. They'll tell you right now, you know, conventional wisdom is out the window when you look at our offense. You know, what you think we should do, we're not going to do because we feel we have the confidence and the capability to do things differently. And so far through 3 games, it's all worked for them.
Right.
Would it have been a violation for me to pick a drive where they didn't score? Because I was really impressed by that drive where they got the ball quickly down the field when they were pinned deep in their own territory.
Absolutely.
Would that have been a violation if I picked that for a drive of the game?
No. Hey, listen, it's your pick. You can pick whatever you want to pick.
I already picked the right one, but I'm just asking you if the other one would have been a violation.
Devin, it doesn't matter who you come to first. It's highly likely that, you know, you call it the drive of the game. We're all going to see it along similar lines because, you know, that was the last touchdown that they scored. It really made the game insurmountable given the way that Carson Wentz and their offense was playing. I mean, we're always going to pick that as the play of the game.
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, that would have been my drive of the game as well. But, Mike, you know, to your point, if it wasn't that incredible Devontae catch in the end zone, what would your drive be? It doesn't have to be a scoring one.
Well, listen, they messed it up by getting too cute on that drive. That was impressive, getting the ball down the field in 4 plays. I mean, Washington thought they had them, and they come right back down on them and run the ball first and then bang, bang, bang with passes. And I don't understand what that call was to Zach Pascal there, where they line him up in the backfield. It's like a half-jet sweep of some sort.
There were a few iffy calls, I will say, where it was like Jalen Hurts could have just punched it in, and they threw it like to the jet sweep to Zach Pascal. So when Devontae finally made that catch and got the points, it's kind of like a sigh of relief for everyone.
Iffy calls are so much easier to stomach when you play such a consistent, dominant, exciting game like the way this Eagles offense has been playing. We don't even spend time talking about the iffy plays. The only time we're going to talk about them is if they cost this team a game somewhere down the line or cost them a significant lead somewhere. But, you know, there's no game played on either side of the football where you don't have some flaws whatsoever. But when you can come back and dominate the way this team dominates, it makes your whole day that much better.
I will say you could focus in on the third series of the game. That's really where the offense even though it only resulted in, you know, a field goal. I mean, that's really where the offense began to find its footing. They struggled through the first 2 series. Right. I mean, they struggled mightily. And then that third series, they began to move the ball. They got down in position. They stalled out. Jake comes in, kicks the field goal, and from that point on, the offense is just rolling until, you know, you get into the second half when they're just doing enough to survive.
Yeah, and of course that was the bomb to Devontae that they didn't challenge. But
yes.
Like, well, come on, Ron. Well, I mean, what's up with that? All right, let's take a break. On the other side, John McMullen. He was in D.C. watching the game, covering the game for JAKIB Sports, and he'll join us after this. It is the Pond Lehocky Eagles postgame show live from Ocean Casino. Back after this.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pond Lehocky, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Action News at 11 with Rick Williams. It's the team you trust to bring it all together. The stories that impact your community, a sports roundup for the locals, and the AccuWeather forecast you depend on. Action News at 11 with Rick Williams.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
Since 1977 at Rafferty Subaru, we have always been about our customers and the community. Early on, a safe and durable option, we've evolved to become the best overall brand according to Kelley Blue Book. Over the last 14 years, we've donated thousands of dollars through the Subaru Share the Love event and found homes for hundreds of pets. The Rafferty family is proud of our 45 years in business. This month, celebrate our anniversary with special financing on select models. Visit us and see why.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
At Stateside Vodka, every new customer gets the world's best rocks glass, free.
What's that?
A rocks glass?
You're telling me that bottle is cut in half?
You could say that.
Holy shit.
And you're telling me I can get one of these glasses for free?
That's right. One free rocks glass per customer with each first-time purchase of Stateside Vodka. So good, it just disappears.
Welcome to the Pond Lehocky Eagles postgame show. I'm Mike Missinelli with Derek Gunn and Seth Joyner on the set right now. Eagles win 24-8 and 400-plus yards of offense, 9 sacks, including Brandon Graham with 2.5 coming alive. A fun game to watch as they're dominant again. And the man who covered that game down in D.C. joins us right now, John McMullen. John, I don't know what to say, but they are clearly superior so far than anybody they've played.
Yeah, I mean, it might be time to admit this is a good football team. So, you know, I'm still waiting for that test. They haven't had that test. You know, Jacksonville, Doug Peterson next on the docket. They looked a little bit better than expected. But, look, this team is really, really talented. And, you know, Seth and I talked about the pass rush. Here we go, the pass rush. You know, Washington was up against it playing a backup center, and all of a sudden they got 9 sacks against Carson Wentz. And that's how you beat Carson Wentz. We saw it. There's a guy who's going to hold on to the football. Amazing performance from the defense today. The offense, guys, you mentioned, Mike, all that yardage. They played 1 quarter. They didn't, you know, it was that short burst and explosion in the second quarter. You look up and the game's over. That's how quick it happens with this team.
Hey, John, I think we have to give Shane Steichen an awful lot of credit because initially we saw the Eagles offense struggle a little bit the first 2 series against this Washington defense. Obviously, they were trying to figure some things out. But it didn't take Shane long to identify that Devontae Smith had the advantage that they were looking for to open things up. And wow, did he deliver for them today.
Yeah, he did. You know, Devontae had a career high in receiving yards by halftime. So he had already hit that number. Had the best first half since Kevin Curtis, I think, back in, you got to go back to 2007, I think it was. But, you know, ended up with 169, eight receptions, career highs. Every week, that's the beauty of this offense is every week it can be somebody else. It might be A.J. Brown. AJ was great today. Didn't have the explosive numbers, But, man, he just makes 50-50 balls 70-30 in your way. He's such a great receiver. Dallas Goedert's one of the best tight ends. You saw the tight end screen. They even got Grant Calcaterra involved. His first NFL catch goes for 40 yards. So this offense is very explosive. The Eagles constantly talk about explosive plays. Nick Sirianni mentioned it 3 times in his post-game press conference. Those are the 2 stats they point to. Explosive plays and turnovers. They didn't turn the football over, and they just had a ton of explosive plays. And they're going to not only win football games when they do that, they dominate football games when they do that.
John, explosive plays, you got to have them, and it's a big deal when you really stop and you think about it. To your point, Nick Sirianni has talked about it. We see it on this football team. The thing is, I scratched up this crazy stat that, the Eagles, they scored 24 points in the second quarter today. That's all the points that they scored. They scored 17 points in the second quarter against Minnesota, and they only managed to score 7 more points after that. In the first game against the Detroit Lions, they scored 24 to 38 points in the second quarter. I just, and listen, happy for the win, proud of how they played, excited about the future, but at some point in time, they're going to have to figure out how to play an entire game. And it's one thing to be explosive in the second quarter, but can you be explosive down the stretch when you really need to be explosive?
Yeah, look, they're going to be tested at some point, and I've said that pretty consistently as well, Seth. I don't know what is coming. I know it hasn't come yet, and they've been able to dominate the teams that they played, except Detroit, where they kind of took the foot off the gas, and they kind of escaped with that win. But Minnesota, I felt very comfortable that if they needed to score in the second half, they could have scored. Nick Sirianni blamed himself. Today he said it was a little bit different. They didn't necessarily take the foot off the gas. They weren't as successful as they wanted to be. But, I think they took the foot off the gas. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, the defense didn't, but I think the offense did. It's nitpicking at this point, though, because they've dominated the competition put in front of them.
No, I don't think it's nitpicking. People are going to say, these guys never are satisfied, with the outcome when the Eagles win. I'm looking down the road because I said it last week. I'll say it again. I've always said it. The way that you win is as important as if you don't win. So at some point in time, things always balance themselves out. There's this balancing effect in football that always happens. There's going to be a game where they're not going to be as explosive as they want to be for whatever reason. It might be a matchup. It might be, a coaching deal, whatever it is. If you have an opportunity to blow the scoreboard up, then blow the scoreboard up. When you look at teams like, Kansas City, when they're in their groove, they don't take the foot off the pedal, because it's so much harder to put the gas 100% down, let up on it, and then put your foot back on the gas again and get everything going again than it is to just keep the pedal to the metal at all times. Even on the defensive side of the ball, keep coming, keep the pressure on. Do not let Carson Wentz, even though you already sacked him 9 times, sack him 9 more times because you got to play him again.
Yeah, maybe by that point you won't be, but especially if he gets sacked 9 times a game. But they took it. Look, I think you're right, Seth. I mean, at some point, I keep saying it, and they haven't been tested yet. I thought they would be tested today. They did have some problems with Jonathan Allen up front. They had some problems with Daron Payne. Nick Sirianni talked about how much respect he has for those players in Montez Sweat. The Eagles typically run the ball at will, right? They couldn't run the ball today. They ran for, I'm looking it up right now, 72 yards. Yeah. That's not a typical Philadelphia Eagles performance under Nick Sirianni. So they had trouble running the football, and that made them more pass dependent. And they made a lot of plays down the field. You had the 45-yard catch that might have not been a catch to Devontae Smith. You guys probably saw that better than me because I'm at FedEx Field. The TVs don't work. Nothing works here. So you guys probably have a better view if that foot actually wanted came down that second foot. But
he was out.
I know Ron Rivera wanted to challenge that play, didn't get the information quick enough, wasn't able to challenge it. So I give the Eagles credit for getting up and running another play. But you had a 44-yard pass to Devontae as well. You had a 40-yarder to Grant Calcaterra. I mentioned you had a deep ball to A.J. Brown. These explosive plays stressed the defense. And I got news for you guys. Washington came out a house ablaze defensively in the first quarter, and then it's just wearing on. Their offense couldn't move the ball. All of a sudden, the Eagles get a field goal. Then they get the turnover, the short field. It's 10-0. Essentially, the game's over at that point. But you saw it for that first 10 minutes or so. Washington was playing well defensively. Jalen Hurts started 1 of 5 after completing 84% of his passes on Monday night. It is coming. I can't tell you when, but they will be challenged more over a 60-minute time period. Yes. But right now, you got to give this team credit. They're deep. They're talented. They can beat you a whole host of ways. And a quarterback is playing great.
John, first of all, yeah, I know Ron Rivera didn't get the information in quick enough, but I wonder if anybody on the Commander's sidelines has eyeballs. You have to get somebody to call for it. Can't you just witness that? But here's the point I want to make, and I want to get your opinion of what Carson Wentz is right now. They existed, the Eagles, pretty much 4-man front. They were getting pressure on him. And, so he didn't have – I get it. But you look at the guy and the stuff that haunted us with Carson Wentz, the quarterback here, holding on to the ball too long, not securing the ball when he's trying to wriggle out of there. The same warts all the time, and I just wonder what kind of quarterback you think he is right now.
Oh, that's a good question, Mike. What the quarterback I saw today is not a good quarterback. And, the Eagles kind of talked behind the scenes a little bit. If we hit this guy early, they know better than anybody. He's going to fall apart. Now, you could say that about most quarterbacks. If you hit them early, they're going to get uncomfortable. I mean, that's how the Giants beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. Pressure right up the middle. So the greatest of all time had that problem. But it's a little bit more exacerbated with Carson Wentz. He holds on to the football too long. We know that from watching him in Philadelphia. He doesn't protect the football when he holds the football. You had the 2 strip sacks. One the Eagles were able to get and created that short field. When he plays like this, you start to think, all right, this is his last chance to be a starting quarterback in this league. If he continues to play like this, he's not going to be a starting quarterback in this league.
Hey, John, by no stretch of the imagination are we going to diminish the defensive effort from this Eagles defense today, but just how atrocious was that Washington offensive line? That from the tackles, that was some of the worst tackle play I've seen in quite some time.
Yeah, and especially coming off Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker and Brian O'Neill. Yeah. I mentioned that in the pregame show. They were going to have a little bit of a breather this week with Sam Cosmi and Charles Leno. But I think the big issue was Wes Schweitzer at center.
Yep.
And you saw straight up Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave early in the game, just right up the middle. Incredible pressure. And he's their backup. Chase Rule, he's on injured reserve. He's a really good center. That probably would have made a difference. But everybody's got injuries in this league. You have to do a better job than Washington did. I think the big issue was Wes Schweitzer. The Eagles took advantage of it. They deserve credit. By the way, on the defensive side, William Jackson wasn't able to play, and they had to play Rashad Wildgoose. And the Eagles identified that, and they were able to get 2 big PIs on him, big chunk PIs too, with Quez Watkins. So I give this coaching staff credit for identifying weaknesses and exploiting them.
John, let me ask you a question. You address the defense, you address the offense. My biggest question on this Eagles football team, again, is the return game and special teams. You saw Devontae Smith come out and take the second punt return, got some positive yards, and then you watch Britton and Colby just get beat up and hammered You know,
Man, he got beat up.
It's like, you know, we're sitting there in the green room watching this, and I'm like, is anybody going to block for this kid? Now, I get it. He's not a 4-3 guy or a 4-4 guy with a whole lot of shake. He's going to make one move, and he's going to get up the field. You got this little kid back here, you know, doing the best that he can. And when you get tackled by 6 defenders, and all of the guys on your team that's supposed to be helping blocking those guys, they come running to the pile afterwards. This is a problem, because I told D Gunn, I was like, I'm either cussing out the guys that's supposed to be blocking for me, or I'm going to tell the special teams coach, hey, every single time they punt, I'm just going to fair catch it. But I'm not going to sit back here and get my ass handed to me, and these guys aren't doing their job. You know, and then I tweeted out, I'm like, Nick needs to, like, you know, cut one of these special teams guys and put 2 more on the practice squad to send a message, because you know what, you're getting paid to do a job, and that guy should not be taking the kind of punishment that he's taking when guys just aren't blocking and getting in front of the guys that they're supposed to be getting in front of.
No, I think I talked about that a lot. That's been an underreported problem with this team, really dating back to last season. The kickoff, both punt return, coverage as well. The Eagles lose the field position battle a little bit too much. And, you know, when you erase that with your offense, maybe you kind of, you know, fall asleep a little bit. I don't want to say completely fall asleep, but it becomes a bit of a lull, and you say, well, maybe that it's not that important. And Nick Sirianni kind of did that leading up to this game, and I was a little surprised. But, you know, with Britton, you hit the nail on the head. He's not an explosive guy. You saw that when the Eagles had Washington backed up and they had a chance for a return, they put Devontae Smith out there because they wanted the explosive ability to say, all right, we can get a return. When it's a typical punt where they're trying to pin you back, they put Kobe back there because he's very short-handed. Even though he muffed one today, typically he's very short-handed. That's sort of their mentality of it. But yeah, they don't have any explosion, and that poor kid got beat up. I do give him credit, though, because I talked to him. He doesn't like punt returners who fair catch, because he thinks they do that to pad their stats. And he says, if I can get a yard or 2 yards, it's better than taking a fair catch. So he's really tough, but he's really small, and he's getting beat up.
John, quick thing, and we get out of here. Any injury updates from the locker room? I know Goddard was banged up a little bit in the shin. Do we have any updates on the situation?
No, Dallas was back in the game, so he was able to return. So he was back. Milt Williams was a little scary. He was down. He went in the injury tent, but he came back in the game. Darius Slay very early got banged up, but he was his typical stealth in the locker room. So it's another part of it. They've been very healthy so far, and that's part of the success as well.
All right, John, thank you. Another Eagles win. We'll see what next week brings, and then Arizona. So maybe they get the test in the next 2 weeks. Thanks a lot, John. We'll talk to you.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, that's John McMullen live from Landover, Maryland. So let me get this straight. You're telling me that Britton Covey can go up to a special teams coach and go, listen, man, if you're not going to block for me, I'm just going to fair catch it and get away with it? They'll say, son, you better take your ass back to Utah. There's no way he's got that kind of clout.
Maybe. But how much more of that punishment do you think he can take?
Oh, I get it.
Whether he makes a decision to just wave his hand against the return, but if I'm in his shoes, yeah, I'm trying to make the team. I'm trying to, maintain a job. But at the same time, it's hard for me to do my job when everybody else ain't doing their damn job. And you want me to risk my neck back there running those kicks back. And, I mean, listen, I seen one on one of his punt returns, Mike. He catches the ball. He's trying to make something happen. He hits it up. I mean, you can't do a whole lot of dancing. We want him to just hit a hole. I mean, he gets swarmed by like 5, 6, 7 guys. And then all the guys that are supposed to be blocking those guys, here they come jogging to the pile. And I'm like, You got to be kidding me. You're supposed to get in front of this guy and stay in front of him and dog him all the way down the field. Not block him twice at the line of scrimmage and release him and let him go down and knock your punt returner out who's trying to get some positive field position, man.
Well, another part of the problem is, too, that Kobe has to do a better job of protecting his body. He's too upright when he's returning the ball upfield. And you look at a couple of shots, this kid's going to end up with a chest contusion or fractured ribs when you consider he's basically an open target. Most ball carriers, what do? Get low, brace yourself. When you feel the pressure converging, what do? He's standing up like a stop sign and just taking shots at him.
I get it. You know, I know the one you're talking about.
Yes,
he was
there's
two
of them.
He was a little bit off balance because he's trying to make one guy miss, and as he's trying to make one guy miss, and he's stumbling a little bit, he's standing straight up. Well, you know what? If they would just block some damn body, he wouldn't have to go through all them machinations.
I'm just saying, I can picture Britt Covey going in, stomping around, going, "I ain't gonna stand for no banana, no tailpipe," right? That's not gonna happen.
Hey, if you don't protect yourself, who is?
Who will? Exactly.
Okay.
I get it. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. It is the Pond Lehocky Eagles postgame show. We're live at Ocean Casino. Back into this.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Android TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
The big story on Action.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
My wife was in an accident that changed our lives forever. She was in rehabilitation for years. She had to learn to walk again. She couldn't take care of herself. We couldn't afford a nurse. We were running out of options. One conversation with Pond Lehocky changed everything. They understood what we were going through and immediately helped us navigate the legal process. We can't thank them enough.
Pond Lehocky. Tell us your story.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
Score and save this football season on your car insurance. Before the next game, save up to 40% on your auto insurance policy. That's right, 40% savings. Call an audible this season and contact the Del Val Insurance Group. They're an advocate for you, not an insurance company. That means they'll get you the right coverage and save you up to 40%. Call managing partners Fran or Jim of Del Val Insurance, 215-354-0122, or score and save at dvigi.com. dvigi.com.
Jeff D'Ambrosio, Destination Downingtown's 5-day used car super sale. Jeff puts an end to high prices now. 5 days of the best car, truck, and SUV deals ever. Over 1,000 vehicles, every make and model. Stop overpaying. See Jeff today and get a quality car, truck, or SUV now. The 5-day used car super sale. Experience how easy it is to deal at Jeff's. Nobody treats you better. Nobody gives you more. Jeff D'Ambrosio, Destination Downingtown. GoJeffAuto.com.
The Pond Lehocky Eagles post-game show live at the Ocean Casino. You're watching us on 6abc.com or the JAKIB Sports YouTube network. I'm Mike Missinelli. It's Derek Gunn, and that's Seth Joyner. And the Eagles with a 24-8 win over the Washington Commanders today. Again, a dominant performance in the second quarter. They piled up enough points to really go into the second half, and I know a lot of people are upset about them not really closing out the deal and scoring in the second half. But to me, you know, I thought that the Eagles' mindset was we have this team beat. Maybe they let a little up on the gas. But let's just talk about this team because, guys, to me, they are so superior. I mean, beyond so superior than the opponents they've played so far that I'm not used to it. I'm not used to the superiority, like, coming out of the chute like this.
They almost make it look too easy at times. And you're right. Up until this point, the last two games in a span of 6 days, it's been almost like a practice game for them. Whatever a team tries to counter with, they have a counter proposal for them, and 9 times out of 10, it works. And this is a good measuring gauge to set the stage for what's to come when they do play a little bit better competition. Now, the only thing is I want to see is when it gets down to a gunfight in the fourth quarter, how will they respond when things are not so easy? We haven't seen that yet. Now, we saw it briefly in the first game, but we haven't really seen it over the last couple of weeks yet. But if they can stay healthy with what they have right now and what's working for them right now, I like their chances against anybody in the NFC right now.
Well, listen, you know, we can talk about whether they've been tested or not. You know, I always say that the only thing that you can do is play the teams that are on your schedule. When you look at the schedule, yeah, they beat the Lions, they beat the Vikings, they beat the Commanders. They got the Jaguars coming in here next week. They'll probably beat the Jaguars. And then things get a little tougher. They got to travel to Arizona. Then they come back home, and they've got the Cowgirls on Monday night. Huge game, or Sunday night, I think it is. I think those two games will be the toughest two games that they'll have through the first 6 games of the season. But these games, to me, are primers. These are games that they should win.
Yes.
And I think they're learning about themselves. The coordinators are learning about the players. The players are learning about the coordinators, how they want to call plays. And as you continue through, you know, next week, when you get through that fourth game, and you got 4 game films, like I talked about earlier. If I got 4 game films to break you down, now this is where the rubber really begins to meet the road when we get to week 5. You know, when they go to Arizona, you're going to have plenty of game film to dissect what they're doing. Nothing's going to be a surprise to you. Nothing's going to be a surprise to them. This is when the season really starts. But it's always good to start off 4-5-0 if you can start off 4-5-0.
The beauty of the situation is, if you look at what Devontae Smith did today, we're talking about 169 yards receiving for Devontae Smith. It goes back and forth. A.J. Brown start one week, Devontae Smith the next, and they're just like they have that kind of attack and Goddard is unguardable. So when you're talking about putting those 3 guys into play, they really never had that kind of a situation in recent years.
Well, I mean, they've been dominant at one position, you know, for a long time. That's been tight end. They've been, you know, have some dominance in the running game, but they haven't had the dominance on the outside. You know, and everyone complained about, oh, you know, Devontae Smith didn't get any catches, no catches in the first game. Well, you knew this was coming, and this is the beauty of this offense is that you have so many weapons across the board. It was almost, it's you know, when I look at this team, what it takes me back to, and I'm not saying that they're going to be this, I'm not saying that they're in that position yet, but what it takes me back to is the Super Bowl year. And when they got to the Super Bowl, I had begun to do a whole bunch of national shows leading up to the Super Bowl. And everybody called me a homer because I was picking the Eagles to win the game. Oh, they can't beat Bill Belichick. They can't beat Tom Brady. And you know what I said? I was like, listen, what is it that that Bill Belichick is greatest at? Bill Belichick is greatest at taking away what you do best and making you beat him with what you do least. And I said, that's not going to work with this Eagles team. I said, take away Zach Ertz. Guess what you got? You got Alshon Jeffrey. You got Corey Clement. You got all these other weapons. There's only one weapon you can take away at a time. You can't take them all away. When I look at this football team, it's a similar situation. You got 3 able backs. You got 3 able tight ends, and you got 3 different wide receivers, and then throw Zach Pascal in the mix. You got 4 wide receivers that can start at any time. So when teams are game planning, how do you game plan for this team?
And by the way, Grant Calcaterra gets some PT today.
Yeah.
He gets a 40-yard
What do you have, like a 40-yard catch?
How about your first catch in the NFL going for 40 yards?
Yes. So this is all good stuff. Now, defensively, obviously, we saw what we saw. They were dominant defensively against a quarterback that I think is on the way to journeymanville. But straight rush, and they got pressure on him. 9 sacks. Brandon Graham, 2.5. Cox, a sack and a half. Sweat, a sack and a half. Hargrave got one. T.J. Edwards got one late. And Hassan Reddick gets a sack and a half. And we've been waiting for that.
Well, listen, it was open season, on Carson Wentz today. You knew that he was going to try to hold on to the ball to buy some time to try to hit stuff downfield. And in doing so, against an inferior offensive line, their game plan should have been, hey, let's just go quick game. Let's get it out. Let's get it out of his hand, so they can't get there. But, listen, these things come in bunches. They're like turnovers. Sacks sometimes are like turnovers. They come in bunches. You get them at different spurts at different times of the game. And listen, Hassan Reddick is too good of a pass rusher, to go through 2 games like he went through earlier. But then again, if you look at the history of his sacks and how he gets them, they come in bunches. There was one game where he had 4 or 5. When he had double-digit sacks one of those years, there was one game where he had 4 or 5 sacks in one game alone. But yet and still, what are we talking about? Oh, he had double-digit sacks. So let's just pump our brakes. He's going to have his highs and his lows. He's going to do some really good things, and then there's going to be some games where he just doesn't. He's not going to show up.
So let me ask you guys this. Since we're talking about Hassan Reddick, were you content with this performance today or satisfied?
Oh, I was just satisfied. I like that he got something on the board. I'll take that for right now. But he hasn't obviously been a dominant pass rusher so far for whatever reason. They're not putting him in the right spot or whatever. But I thought he showed a little bit more life to that.
Okay. I think it's situations. I will stand on the soapbox and I will say, pressures are one thing. You put him in the five-man look, and 9 times out of 10, he's going to be the drop guy because he's primarily the guy that possesses the skill set to drop into coverage and be a flat player. And I've seen BG do it a couple of times, but BG, like he said, he gained about 20 pounds during his rehab process. And he's in year 13, so I'm not asking him to drop in the flat as much as I would a guy like Hassan Reddick. So you kind of understand the mentality and the thinking when you're in that position and you want to show 5-man, but you want to drop. He's going to be the guy. So you got to be happy that yes, he got on the board, but that potentially there's so much more there, and they've got to get better in how they utilize him. Line him up in a traditional 4-man front. And instead of just having just every single time running, just trying to speed rush, do some ET, some TE stunts with him. Figure out a way where you can, start him off in 5-man, slide him back off the line in a 3-linebacker off the ball look and send him with games, with the tackles, with the ends, whatever it is that you want to do. But you got to figure out creative ways to implement him in what you're trying to do rather than what they're just doing. He's either lined up on the edge and he's coming in 5-man, or he's lined up, a defensive end in the 4-man and he's coming, or he's lined up in 5-man and he's dropping. There's not a whole lot of mystery there.
So your answer falls into the category of content for today?
Yeah, because listen, when you sign a guy to a contract like that, the expectations are for much, much more. Okay, but he went through the first 2 games with none. He got 1.5 today. Yep. I'm content for now.
Okay,
yeah, and the complaints were they were dropping him too much in coverage, and you're not going to get the best out of him. It was an underrated defensive play in this game that we hadn't talked about yet. Devontae Maddox.
Oh yeah,
stuffing the 4th and goal there.
Oh my goodness!
And now they got a 2-run homer to get on the board with their deuce on the board, but still, that was a good play.
No question about it. And you know what? Devontae Maddox is like the unsung hero of the secondary. He's the guy who does a lot of the dirty work but doesn't get a lot of the accolades. we always talk about the Bradbury, Slay, Gardner Johnson. Those are the big name guys. But all Avonte Maddox does is make plays. And that play he made at the goal line was a momentum changer. I mean, he went low and took out a guy who was about 6-7 inches taller than him and about 40-50 pounds heavier than him, and he stopped him dead in his tracks.
Listen, I don't want to pile on here with Carson Wentz, but I think I will, because it was painful for me to watch him. It really was. And I loathe bad quarterback play in the NFL. You see an awful lot of bad quarterback play. But it was like a juxtaposition of what made us disgruntled with him, where we were so annoyed that he held the ball. We were so annoyed that he didn't protect the ball. And that's what we saw today.
Well, there hasn't been a whole lot of change. And I just want to say this before we move on. I've heard there are people who are really smart in this game have said to me that Avonte Maddox, I don't think we really understand how good he is, okay? And if he could just acquire some statistics, if he could get some interceptions, if he could, if he could fill the stat box, then he would be a Pro Bowl slot corner. The problem is he does such a good job, they don't really attack him that much, okay? So now, I digress. I'll go back to Carson Wentz.
Well, I'm glad you got that point in. Now, go back.
Carson, I'm like, where's he going?
Go back to Carson.
The issue with Carson is, Carson just some guys just never learn. They're like the Little Rascals. The Little Rascals say they never learn. It seems to me like it never registers. I felt like when Nick Foles took over this team and took it to the Super Bowl, and then he came back and started the first 4 games, the thing that I wish for the most guys is I wish that Carson could step back and look at how Nick Foles operated as the leader of the team and learn something from it. And he never did. I think there was still more resentment from that situation than his ability to look at what was there that he could glean from that situation and learn from that would help him going forward. Then Nick Foles moves on, and now he's the guy. And he knows that he's the guy in full power. And he never really got it and understood that when you're the quarterback, you have to endear yourself to everyone on the roster, not just a couple of guys on the offense, not just a couple of guys on the defense, but everyone. And then from a playing perspective, I seen him in a game where he threw 3 interceptions, stand up at the post-game podium and say, hey, I'm just going to keep, I'm going to keep taking my shots. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm not going to change anything. You're not going to change anything? Dude, you just threw 3 interceptions. Are you crazy?
I was hiding my eyes, so like doctor my eyes. And speaking of doctors, how about that segue? Let's talk about some injuries here that we may or may not have or how we'll treat them. We got Dr. Bruce who's in Miami, Florida with us today. Dr. Bruce, now a couple of banged up guys. Dallas Goedert went out of the game with his shin. Slay, we were worried about a little bit with the back, but he came back in. So when you're looking at injuries like that, let's talk about Slay first with the back. As a doctor, what are you checking out here?
Well, one thing, firstly, I want to say hi to everybody. I must tell you might want to rewatch the Dolphins-Bills game. Incredible finish. I attended the game, and I also had an iPad on my lap, so I was able to watch the Eagles. And that was beautiful. But with the low back, one of the main questions is, does the pain radiate? Okay? The pain radiates, it's a little more ominous. That's when we think about a disc injury or nerve tweaking. If a pain is in the back and it's axial, we think about a simple back strain, even a sacroiliac problem. I'm sure you being a golfer, Mike, you know what it's like. Sometimes those little dimples will be painful, especially in football. So with SI injuries, we treat them with local injections, with physical therapy, heated ultrasound. So thankfully, apparently Slay was his old self after the game. But with the low back, we want to do, of course, a neurological exam, and presumably it would be normal. And you really wouldn't have to do an MRI unless there was concern about radiating pain.
Hey, Doc, Goddard leaves with the shin injury. And when you're talking about shin injuries, what are some of the first things that you're looking for to find out how minor or severe it could be?
Well, that's a great question, D-Gun. When you can check on yourself. Basically, even very muscular people, the tibial bone, that shin bone is exposed. And the players have shin guards, but they don't go all the way down. There's a little space there which is exposed. So if there is enough blunt force directed to the tibial bone, you could have a stress fracture, you could have a non-displaced fracture, or even a displaced fracture. Also, the muscles over there are part of the anterior compartment, including the tibialis anterior, the peroneus longus muscles, the brevis muscles. So those muscles are very fragile, and there's a nerve that lives right next to the shin called the peroneal nerve. So as a doctor, we have to anatomically examine the patient. Hopefully this will be merely a soft tissue injury, a bruising of that area. A more significant hypothetical injury, not thankfully with the eagle today, would be a compartment syndrome, where you actually have swelling of the compartment and where the doctor needs to actually go in and release and decompress a compartment. And that's, the most severe form of a shin injury. But I think understanding the fact that the bone is rather unprotected and exposed, understanding the muscles and nerves of the area, doing an exam. The Eagles have done a terrific job of preparing the team, the training, the strength staff. I almost think of myself as the Maytag repairman, and it's a good thing. The Grim Reaper never has to show up because we come out of a third game and remarkably healthy, and that's the secret to winning football games. And also, the fact that you have a 24-0 lead enables you to rotate your players in and hopefully not take physical chances in the second half.
Doc, I got nothing, man. My thing is, you using all these big words and making my head hurt. But to your point, they are highly, healthy, healthier than any other team, that they're going to face coming down, in the next couple of weeks. Just keep doing what they're doing. Keep training and keep doing what they're doing, to keep their guys healthy, and they'll be just fine. But there's a lot of injuries going around the league. A lot of guys are missing games. A lot of guys are out for the season, so on and so forth. For a change, I should say, the Eagles are in a position where the injury bug hasn't bitten them yet. Let's knock on wood.
Yeah, it's been great watching the Dolphins game. Tua had a very scary thing. We might have seen on the break there. Tua was sacked. There was a intentional roughing penalty, and the back of his head slammed against the turf. And it's about 100 degrees there in the turf. Even though it's a grass field there in Miami, it's not the best grass field. So Tua was stunned, and it reminded me a little bit of Deshaun Jackson. Remember that time set where he got up and he started stumbling and fell over?
Yep.
So Tua literally stood up and almost fell down. They went into the locker room and he cleared concussion protocol. And in typical Tua fashion, he came back and threw 2 dimes, 30-yard dimes in the second half, and they ended up winning and beating Buffalo by 2 points. Really an exciting game. Another concerning injury is Mac Jones, the quarterback for the New England Patriots. A really ugly-looking ankle injury today. The x-rays are negative. That means there's no fracture. But it could have been a dislocated ankle. And the quarterback is so important that, yes, the Eagles have been lucky, but looking at Tua and looking at Mac Jones, they're the two that I focused on today across the league.
Doc, thanks very much. We're kind of losing the transmission down there. It's not synced up. But how about the Doc? He's in Miami. He's watching the Dolphins game live, and he's got the Eagles on the laptop. That's dedication.
And that's modern technology right there. Just think, back 20 years ago, we couldn't even do that, Mike. No. But I wanted to ask the Doc, unfortunately the transmission betrayed us, but I wanted to ask him because there's a story going on down in Miami now that's picking up a lot of national steam, and it's about the quarterback down there, Tua. He walked to the locker room. He was in concussion protocol. He went back in the game. So now the league has already begun an investigation into this as to why Miami allowed him to go back into the football game.
I bet they are, because the normal protocol is once you go in that blue tent and you're in the concussion protocol, it's hardly ever one of those situations where you clear protocol to go back in the game. Once you're in concussion protocol, you're pretty much done for the day.
Yes.
So I've got to imagine that there's a whole lot of investigation going on down there, them trying to figure out, did they rush this guy back out on the field? Somebody's in trouble.
The way that game ended, by the way, the Bills lose to the Dolphins, and the Bills are driving and get the field goal that will tie the game, and the clock runs out on them. There was a play that took up a lot of seconds. They had no more time out. They were 2 yards away from the field goal line, the safety line, and the clock runs out on them. So the Bills lose to the Dolphins down there today.
Well, mismanagement at its finest right there.
So, Andy Reid, I think, was on the side.
I had said on our Sports Take show on Friday, I felt there were 3 undefeated teams that could fall by the wayside today, and 2 of them did. Baltimore lost to Miami, and Kansas City loses to the Colts of all teams.
Yes, the Colts.
And then you have this one, Green Bay could upset Tampa, and then tomorrow night, the Giants could lose to Dallas. So you could have 4 undefeated teams.
Yeah, but you know, the funny thing is you think about the rhetoric that's been going on. You know, Kansas City and Buffalo were looked at as the creme de la creme in the AFC. And it was presumed because they were playing so well that, you know, projected, and I get it, we're only in the second week,
right?
You know, a third week, that the eventual Super Bowl champion was coming out of the AFC. And all of a sudden, both of them fall today. Now Miami, you know, can be possibly looked upon as that preeminent team in the AFC. And what that means and what that looks like, you know, for that conference. And now you got the Eagles undefeated, you know, 3-0 over in the NFC, and what that means long term, you know, in the NFC division.
I tell you what, people are paying a lot of attention to the Eagles now. There's no question that they're. You know, you hear national commentators, and it's always Eagles. They're in that conversation.
Well, they
right
should be.
Yeah.
They should be. They listen. They should be in the conversation, and people should be talking about them. Okay, because you got a young quarterback who, at the end of last year, was looked upon as maybe not the answer. Maybe we need to go and draft a guy. He comes out. He throws for 250 yards in his first game. No touchdowns. No interceptions. Comes back the second game. You know, throws for 300 yards. 1 interception, 1 touchdown. Shows up today, throws for 300, almost 350 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, yeah, and you should be having that conversation, because the teams that are the creme de la creme in the NFC division, they are pretty much the Rams and the Packers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And those 3 teams today, they will all probably walk away at 2-1, and the Eagles will be the only team left in the NFC, probably, unless the Giants beat unless the Giants beat the Cowboys. The only
I know
team
people
will be 3.
are probably watching this maybe on a Monday. I got the Giants winning tonight.
What?
Yeah.
Do you really?
Yes.
No.
I will say.
Yes.
I will say this. Though. I will say this. Number one,
let me tell you something. The line is 1 point.
Yeah.
That line gets my attention, Seth. The
That's
line
because
sometimes talks to me.
That's because you're betting the game. The line's got your attention. I'm coming from a reality standpoint. That defense will expose Danny Dimes for what he really is. Okay?
Reality has nothing to do with winning money on a bet.
Okay.
Well, keep in mind also the Giants will have their 2 edge rushers for the first time this season in that game on Monday night. And you look at the way the defense, Wink Martindale has that defense playing at an exceptional level right now. That's going to be a good game. I can't wait to see that.
Did you Just don't remember I told you so.
Well, how about I tell you this?
I'm not saying who's winning the game, but
the Green Bay Packers were +1 going there. That's the line also got my attention. I took the Packers. How am I doing?
Hey, listen, I hear you. I hear you. But you know what? I like, there's just no way in the world that Danny Dimes and that offense is going to do anything with that Dallas defense.
With that kid named Micah Parsons bearing down on him?
The Dallas defense is the only thing in this entire NFC East division that worries me. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not even worried about their offense. I'm worried about that defense, man. That defense is legit.
Yeah, it is. But I'm worried about the Dallas offense with a kid named Cooper Rush running the offense more so than I am Dak Prescott. True.
If the Giants win, will you allow me to wear that flower lapel pin next week?
Hey, you got to wear that jacket again because it matches your jacket.
It does match it.
I tell you what,
good.
If the Giants win that game next week, okay?
Cheesesteaks for everybody.
No. If the Giants win that game next week, you know what I want you to do? I want you to screenshot your suit for Sunday on Saturday, and I'll show up with one of these for every suit you wear for the rest of the season.
Okay. All right.
Sounds good to me.
That sounds good to me, too. It is the Pile of Hockey Eagles postgame show. We're not done. We're coming back. We got a lot of things to talk about here, including game balls. We're giving out game balls. That's coming up back after this.
Jim Gardner is an icon.
A Philadelphia treasure.
He's a mentor, a pace setter.
Jim is my North Star.
He's trusted, revered,
appreciated.
He is Action News.
He's compassionate,
honest,
and fair. He is extremely dedicated, motivated, and always seeking the truth.
He's also funny.
We are a team of many.
Jim Gardner is our leader,
and we're lucky to have him.
Philadelphia fans, were cut from a different cloth. Born into a brotherhood and bonded to our team for life. We believe anything is possible because we've witnessed the impossible. While we may be from different neighborhoods, come Sunday, we are one and we will be heard. Pond Lehocky, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Since 1977 at Rafferty Subaru, we have always been about our customers and the community. Early on, a safe and durable option, we've evolved to become the best overall brand according to Kelley Blue Book. Over the last 14 years, we've donated thousands of dollars through the Subaru Share the Love event and found homes for hundreds of pets. The Rafferty family is proud of our 45 years in business. This month, celebrate our anniversary with special financing on select models. Visit us and see why.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Celebrating the life of your loved one is what we do at Life Celebrations by Givnish. When the matriarch of the Dalloway family died suddenly at 82 years old, Life Celebrations by Givnish stepped in.
They will make this the easiest thing that I know it's not easy, but they will make this as easy as possible.
Life Celebrations by Givnish, customizing services as unique as the individual.
I just know that my dad, who is in charge of everything, was not in charge of anything at that point when my mom passed. And again, just another shout out to this place for making it easy.
Turning tragedy into a celebration of life, no matter how hard, is what we do at Life Celebrations by Givnish. Life Celebrations by Givnish, customizing services as unique as the individual.
Welcome into the Pond Lehocky Postgame Show. I'm Devin Caney, and guys, it is time for Game Balls by Colony Pools. Flywithcolony.com. Mike, I feel like I've been picking on you all night, so I don't know if I want to make you go first unless you feel so inclined.
No, let these guys go first because they'll whine and cry that I took their game ball.
What?
So let's start with D-Gun. I stole his thing last time. Go ahead, D-Gun. Who's your game ball guy?
I think it's easy. I'm going to give it to Devonta Smith. I mean, 8 catches, $169. That acrobatic touchdown catch was enough in itself. I think that was an exclamation point on an incredible day for him. He went from getting no balls the first game to now being the star of this particular game. One of many stars, but the star for me offensively in this game. I'll give it to Devonta Smith.
You know, there's a side of me that wants to give it to Jalen Hurts, but, you know, he had it last week. I mean, last week I think we all gave him the game ball. You know, 22, 22 of 35, 340 yards, 9 yards per play. That's significant.
Yes, it is.
It's really significant. And then 3 touchdowns, 3 sacks, 123 quarterback rating. It's hard for me not to give it to him. But given the fact that, the Slim Reaper, didn't catch any balls the first week, kind of got into the mix. I mean, he just broke out today. I mean, he was just having his way, dealing and doing whatever it is that he wanted to do, and they had no answer for him. So similar to how A.J. Brown did week 1. So, my player of the game, my game ball goes to Devontae Smith.
I'm going to give my game ball to Carson Wentz because he's never going to get another game ball the rest of his career.
I love it.
But seriously, I have a sentimental touch for Brandon Graham, and he shows up today, gets 2.5 sacks. He's with this team. He showed production today, so I admire that. I respect that. I'm going to go with Brandon Graham for my game.
That's
ball.
pretty good.
Okay.
Also had a strip sack, really throwing it back to 2017-2018 season with the Carson Wentz thing. So love to see that, and love the defensive player getting a team.
Yes. Brandon Graham, special player in this franchise, so he deserves a game ball.
All right, I'll take it. So you guys have Devontae, Brandon Graham. Aside from giving them your one game ball, who else? Do you have any honorable mentions? Anyone you want to shout out on defense for you guys, offense for you, Mike?
I was, when you pick defense, it clicked in my mind. I'm like, how in the hell can I pick an offensive player when the defense has 9 sacks in a game? Okay. I'm going to go way off the beaten trail, and y'all are probably going to fall off your seats, and everybody that's watching is going to fall off their seats. I'm going to give an honorable mention to Jonathan Gannon, man.
Uh-oh.
Can't argue against that.
Uh-oh.
Cannot argue against that whatsoever.
I'm just going to say it and leave it there. I ain't even going to expound on it.
Seth, are you on the Gandwagon?
I just said I'm going to give him an honorable mention.
Okay.
There's a difference between first team All-American, second team All-American, and honorable mention. I said I'm going to give him an honorable mention.
Is he close to winning you over?
Honorable mention.
That is the best political answer I've heard yet.
D-Gun, honorable mentions?
I can't
defense
disagree with them. We have lambasted Jonathan Gannon since last season. We spent all off season talking about him, training camp talking about Jonathan Gannon. We even ripped him after the first game against Detroit. But the last 2 games, he has put together 2 good defensive game plans in a span of 6 days. I have to give him honorable mention, but like Seth said, I'm not on the bandwagon. He is not first-team All-American yet. It's week to week with this guy. I still don't know if I trust him 100% yet.
And I hate to be that person, the kind of negative voice coming in, but it's did defense improve? Did they have a really good game, which they undeniably did, but also is Washington just a bad team?
We
got to Carson Wentz pretty easily.
We talked about it in another segment because I heard someone talking about it last week, on the radio. They said, is the Eagles defense that good, or is Kirk Cousins that bad?
Right.
So we can ask the question today: is Carson Wentz that bad, or the Eagles defense that good? I would say that when you see a quarterback struggle the way these 2 quarterbacks struggled the last 2 weeks, it's an effect of what you do to them. That's why I always talk about pressuring the quarterback and blitzing, because it's not so much that I just want to see quarterbacks get hit. You have to speed up their clock. You have to make them, you got to speed up their thinking process. You got to speed up their throwing motion. All of those things, the speeding up is what creates the turnovers. It's what creates the mistakes. And if you're going to get that, if you're going to move off of being last in the league in sacks, next to the bottom of the league in turnovers, and so on and so forth, then you're going to have to be more of a pressure team in situations where it lends you to do it. And I'm not talking about being careless, but you can't be 19% and be 3rd in the league in pressures. You just can't live there and be a successful defense.
I totally agree with that mindset, but it's just that Carson Wentz is so bad that I have a hard time. You know what I'm saying? I'm just paralyzed by his.
Let it go, man.
You know
let it go, Mike.
I can't
just let
take.
it go.
I just can't take it.
Mike, he is so bad, but I think the Eagles did exactly what I wanted them to do, and that was they got to his head.
Yes,
they literally
they
physically
did.
got
Like
to
I said,
Carson Wentz, but they got in his head.
I don't want to take anything away from the Eagles defense. I just looked at him and he made my eyes hurt today. And I'm so glad that he's not here.
I am so happy he's not. We were laughing at not even at one point, at several points throughout that game. We were laughing because it just got so ridiculous.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
I just, while I'm watching the game, it's like, it's I'm trying to find the right adjective. Help me here, Mike. You helped me last week. When you
didn't use that in a sentence, by the way.
Proclivity?
You didn't use proclivity to that.
I mean, listen, the issue is you got the second overall pick who's no longer here playing on a division rival. And you got the guy that's picked 53rd overall in the second round that not much was expected of. That probably was picked, maybe to be. I mean, you thought that he could be a backup, okay? That's why he got picked so late. You never envisioned him being a starter. And I'm pretty sure Howie probably picked him as an asset that he could probably move down the road.
Yes.
And we're looking at this game today, and the guy that was supposed to be the franchise is struggling on the other side. And the guy that not much was expected of is blossoming into a franchise quarterback. I mean, just think about the juxtaposition.
That's
of all
what
of
it
that.
is?
There you go.
Juxtaposition.
Ah, yeah. I knew it was in there.
I love it. All right, quick honorable mention that I have, because I mentioned the stat. He's part of our team here, Lane Johnson. I find it mind-boggling that he hasn't allowed a quarterback hit since week 7 of last year. That's unbelievable.
That's not a bad choice. That's not a bad choice. I agree with you there. I'm agreeing with everybody today.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you have an honor, like, have you given one, or are you just agreeing with?
I'm agreeing with Seth, and I'm agreeing with Mike. I'm good.
All right, very original.
Hey, Mike,
yes, I'm good.
I'm going to say this. I'm not surprised that Lane Johnson has played as well as he's played. Once he got past the injuries that he was dealing with, about a year ago, back in the summer, I think he's a premier right tackle. And I think if you put him over at left tackle, he'd be a perennial all-pro over there as well. He's just that darn good.
Yeah, he really is. You would think like somebody slips him and gets a hit on a quarterback, just like one simple hit. But no, pretty amazing.
Going back to the draft pick, we all remember the moment when Jalen Hurts was selected, and I think something that's really interesting and was highlighted in today's game, we were all so upset, right? I think everyone was kind of like, or scratching our heads at least, because Carson Wentz was the guy. Now, looking back where we are, especially after this game, does it make Howie Roseman kind of seem like a genius? Like, did he know when he drafted Jalen Hurts, or was it truly a backup insurance pick?
Sometimes you get lucky, Devin. And listen, no disrespect to Howie, but that to me, the Jalen Hurts evolution to be the starting quarterback and the downfall of Carson Wentz is just one of those in the stars type of things.
I couldn't agree with you more. Everything that is done in the National Football League, I don't care how much they weigh analytics, scouting reports, there's some luck involved as well. Mm-hmm. You look at some of the greatest players that ever played the game, i.e. guys sitting to my left, they were low-round draft picks. Think about how many high-round draft picks were bust in the National Football League. First and second-round picks, they were afterthoughts after just a couple of years. I think there is some luck involved. Now, whatever the mindset was for taking Jalen Hurts in the second round, when he was projected to be by the experts at the very earliest, the third or fourth round pick, they decided to take this kid in the second round. I think we have to sit here now as we look at how the storyline is unfolded and give Howie and his organization kudos for taking him, because we were all shocked that they took a quarterback in the second round that year when they had so many other needs.
Well, listen, I wasn't shocked because that preceded the quarterback factory comment.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Oh, we want to be a quarterback factory. So I wasn't shocked in the least little bit that he made the move. And my thing, to your point, D-Gun, there's no exact science to how you evaluate these players. No. And the problem is, you go to Indianapolis, right. These guys have learned how to game the system. They can run faster 40s, they can jump higher, faster three-cone drills, all of that stuff. And they've got measurements for all of those things. The thing they don't have a measurement for is they don't have a measurement for what's in here. Mm-hmm. And even though, they give these guys the Wonderlic test, and I think they've stopped it now, I've seen guys completely flunk the Wonderlic test and come in and they're football savants. Yes. So that Wonderlic test means absolutely nothing when you talk about the intellect of a football player and how he operates on the field.
Right.
Well,
The other thing is, Devin, is that you can't measure what it is that motivates someone, to be great. And the difference between when you're a first-round pick and you're a late-round draft pick, the difference of what's expected of you and you having to be able to take advantage of your opportunity when it presents itself, because that door might only be open for you once as a 7th round draft pick, but for a 1st round draft pick, that door is open for 3 years minimum. Right.
Well, whatever it is that's motivating Jalen Hurts, he's got a lot of it, and he's doing it well. We are going to go to break. We have one final segment coming up, so stick around. This is the Pond Lehocky Postgame Show.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Android TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
The big story on Action News.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
Welcome to Pond Lehocky. We've helped over 100,000 injured and disabled workers obtain benefits, as well as some of the biggest settlements in the state. If you've been injured at work, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, Birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
Jeff D'Ambrosio, Destination Downingtown's 5-day used car super sale. Jeff puts an end to high prices now. 5 days of the best car, truck, and SUV deals ever. Over 1,000 vehicles, every make and model. Stop overpaying. See Jeff today and get a quality car, truck, or SUV now. The 5-day used car super sale. Experience how easy it is to deal at Jeff's. Nobody treats you better. Nobody gives you more. Jeff D'Ambrosio, Destination Downingtown. GoJeffAuto.com.
Welcome back to the Pond Lehocky Postgame Show. I'm Mike Missinelli with Derek Gunn, Seth Joyner, Devin Caney. 24-8, they win again. Now, we've been talking about when their first test will be. We're paying attention to another game here. The Jacksonville Jaguars all of a sudden are alive. And we were talking about in 2 weeks when they play at Arizona. Could next week be a challenge?
Absolutely. Doug Peterson is an excellent football coach. Don't underestimate a Doug Peterson coach football team. Jacksonville spent a lot of money this offseason rectifying some of the problems they had. Obviously, under Urban Myers, they were a mess. So they've cleaned up that mess now, and they're moving forward in a new direction. You look at what happened today, again, across the league. Would you have bet money that the Colts would have beat the Chiefs today?
I did.
You did? No, you did. No, you did not.
Yes, I did. I had a hunch that the Colts weren't as bad as they showed it. This, it's the NFL. Things happen like that all the time.
No, the Chiefs were my one lock for today. I'm like, there's no way the Colts are going to come out and beat Patrick Mahomes.
Because the line was short, and it was like, okay, the Colts find themselves here.
Well, when you look at the way the Colts have played over the first couple of seasons and first couple of games, and obviously Matt Ryan has not been clicking in that offense. The defense basically has been holding the Colts up. You wondered when it was going to click on both sides of the ball, and it clicked today. The the Chiefs are one of the most explosive offenses in the National Football League. You hold that team down, you've more than done your job today. So that's why, people who sit out there saying next week is an automatic win against Jacksonville, you better rethink that situation because we've had 3 straight weeks of unpredictability across the league.
And it is one of those in-between weeks where, the Eagles are thinking of going to Arizona. And Arizona, obviously, in somebody's mind, is going to be a bigger challenge than this. So I don't know. Could it trap them, Seth?
No, because, they're going to look at this game and see what happened in this game. And this game is going to be the wake-up call, if you will, for them. And listen, the Jacksonville isn't really doing a whole lot of anything. I think the issue is that Justin Herbert is actually playing in this game. Mm-hmm. He's not 100%. Yeah. He's been sacked once. He's fumbled the ball and lost a fumble, and he's also, he also has an interception. So, when you turn the ball over like that, a lot of times you really don't deserve to win a football game. Once you start getting the 2 or 3 turnovers in a game, you don't really deserve to win a football game. Now, they're losing big. And I don't know, if the defense has scored or what's going on. But, as I look at Jacksonville, they're pretty darn balanced, And that's not something that Doug Peterson always was. I don't know whether that was something that, he was prevented from being, but he's balanced here. Trevor Lawrence has thrown the ball 32 times. They've run it 28 times. And they ran the ball for 136 yards. So this James Robinson kid looks to be, legit. So the Eagles are going to have a test. But I think once they start evaluating this film and looking at how much the talent has gotten better in Jacksonville, they better not sleep on them. They better not fall for the banana in the tailpipe, thinking that that this is still going to be the old Jacksonville Jaguars coming in here, and 9 times out of 10, 9.5 times out of 10, you got the W locked up.
All right, well, I think that about puts a wrap on this, baby. Thanks for watching, everybody, on ABC.com and the JAKIB Sports YouTube channel. And if you didn't catch this show, then you can catch it during the week. But I'm telling people that aren't watching it to actually catch it during the week, so it doesn't make any sense what I just said, right?
I don't know. You're doing amazing.
So in any event, have a great rest of the evening, everybody. We'll talk to you next week. Eagles, Jacksonville, home game. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pond Lehocky, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Celebrating the life of your loved one is what we do at Life Celebrations by Givenish. When the matriarch of the Dalloway family died suddenly at 82 years old, Life Celebrations by Givenish stepped in.
They will make this the easiest thing that I know it's not easy, but they will make this as easy as possible.
Life Celebrations by Givenish, customizing services as unique as the individual.
I just know that my dad, who is in charge of everything, was not in charge of anything at that point when my mom passed. And again, just another shout out to this place for making it easy.
Turning tragedy into a celebration of life, no matter how hard, is what we do at Life Celebrations by Givenish. Life Celebrations by Givenish, customizing services as unique as the individual.
The faces you know, the team you trust. The Delaware Valley's leading news program, Action News.
Go for the beers, go for the cheers, go for the hit and the hits, go for the scene, go for the screens, go for the gallery, go for the win, go to Ocean.